Right, so welcome back to another edition of this grid series, and this is the number 6. We need to talk about the add, subtract, divide, and multiply. And if you go to math, you will have it right here: add, divide, multiply, and subtract. We're going to talk about this. Now, we don't even need this. This is a default patch. If I play something, it sounds like that, but we are not going to really use it at first. Now, on the grid, everything is controlled by math and magic, but math mostly. All right, so you do have a lot of math modules, and on this one, you can see the other ones. And if you know math, once you learn how this works, you just can guess what the other ones will do. Okay, so let's just try to figure out what these ones will do, and then how to apply them into a more musical kind of environment, right? Okay, so let's just put them to a test. I'm going to go and bring something that calls a constant. So this one will output a constant value. That's why it's called constant. And whatever value you have right here, that's the value that's going to output. Now we can go to display right here, and we can have the value readout. This one is going to tell us what this one is doing, and you have different ways of evaluate whatever this is doing. You have one from 1, which it's going to be from -1 or +1. Then you have dBs, you have semitones, or you have hertz. We already talked about this module. So the constant in this case, we're going to use a 1. So this one is going to saying go to 1, and we get just that. It's just going to 1. And if I go lower, it's just going lower. But in this case, I'm just going to go to 1. So first, we are going to be talking about the add. And I'm going to go there and bring the add. So this one, what it does, it will just do that. It will just grab whatever value, and it will just add it to whatever other value that you're going to be passing right here. So for example, I'm going to bring this constant, and I'm going to connect it right here. Then I'm going to go to maybe a different constant. I'm going to go right here, and I'm just going to put it right there. So then I'm going to go to display and just bring another value readout so we can evaluate what this one is doing. And I'm just going to make sure that this one is doing +1 and this one is doing +1. So we are doing 1 and 1. So since this one is plus, what is going to happen if you do 1 + 1? By connected right here, what do you think is going to happen? So, well, we get 2, right? And that's how it works. That's how the math modules would work. Whatever value you're going to be putting right here, and then you're going to put another one right there, and there everything is going to be summed. And at the end of the day, it just will give you the sum of that value. It doesn't matter if it's dBs or semitones or hertz, right? It's just going to do the sum. So if this one works like this, what happens if we do divide, or maybe multiply, or maybe subtract? I'm going to go to subtract. Right? Because it's, very simple. Now we are doing 1 minus 1. So what we are doing, we are just canceling the constants. And what we're going to get at the end of the day is just 0, right? All of this just makes sense. It's just basic math. What happens if we want to multiply? Same idea. I'm going to go right here, do the multiply, and notice that we are getting 1. Well, it makes sense. If you do 1 by 1, what are you going to get? You're going to get 1. So maybe I'm going to do 4 times, 4, something like that. And we are going to get, of course, 16. What if we want to do divide? Well, this is, again, it works pretty much the same way. I'm going to bring it right here and just do divide. Now, if we do 4 divide 4, what do you get? You get 1, of course. Now, but when you start getting different values and offsetting them, you're just going to get a different thing. If I do 1 divided by 4, we're just going to get, a quarter. We just get 250. So, why do we care about these modules, and how can we use them on a more musical example, in a more musical environment? Okay, so let me just delete all of this. I'm going to go and just keep one value readout, and I'm going to go maybe to an LFO and just bring an LFO, right? I'm just bringing an LFO. Then I'm going to go to a display and bring an oscilloscope to see what we are doing on the LFO, right? And if I go to slow on the mode, we can see the LFO going up and then going down. Now, if I go to hertz right here and I go really slow, we can see that this one is going really slow, starts slowing down, and then goes slow and slow and slow, right? That's the whole point. All right, so what is my point? What am I trying to show you? What I'm trying to show you is that everything will output some kind of a value. Even an LFO. In this case, this LFO is not bipolar, it's unipolar. It's going from 0 to 1. So this is outputting a value. Notice that we are on 1, it is going to 1, and then when it goes down, it's going to go all the way to 0, and so on, and so on, and so on. If I do it super slow, we can really see the values increasing and then going down. If I do bipolar, it's just going to be the same thing, but instead of going from 0 to 1, it's going to go from +1 and then, of course, -1. And we can see it on the value readout. Now, at the end of the day, all of this is just numbers and it's math. So we can use the math modules just to make different combinations or just, to do something different. Maybe if I bring an oscillator, right? I'm going to go and bring an oscillator. Maybe I'm going to bring a pulse. And I'm going to go and do pitch. Now, of course, notice that what it's doing right here. Now, we cannot see it because it's very fast. But this is going to -1 and +1. So again, it's outputting some kind of information. Now, at the same time, if we go to the value readout, we can work with dBs or we can go with semitones. And it's going really crazy, of course. But if we go to hertz, we can see the hertz going up and down as well. So yeah, everything will just output some kind of a value that we can use with the math and just, use it into our advantage. Maybe let's say something like gates or steps. I'm going to bring the steps and these steps will just, provide some kind of instruction. Right now, they are connected to the value readout. We are not doing anything. So they will not output any value. They're just outputting 0. But maybe this is just too much. I'm going to go to 8. Why not? If I go up or down and up and down, they will start just outputting different values right here. Let me just go to slow. And we can see the values that they're doing right here. So again, we can use these numbers to our advantage to do some kind of modulation. And maybe we want to add something else and create kind of a monster of something by, duplicating or multiplying these values or dividing them. Even in envelopes, an envelope is going to give you this type of values. Let's say if I bring an ADSR, right? I'm going to go and just maybe not there. I'm just going to bring an ADSR. And the ADSR right here, it gives you the ability of, just seeing, or maybe let me do something like that. It's going to be outputting a value. If I press something, notice how the value goes up. It's going to slowly go up, then down, and then it's going to sustain. And then when I release the keys, the value goes down. So again, even envelopes will give you some kind of a value. So since everything it's kind of giving you values, and it's math behind the scenes and magic, of course, we can use the math modules to kind of do different things. Now, at the end of the day, we care about how it sounds, right? The musical side of things. I'm going to go right there to a default patch, and maybe I'm going to keep that triangle. I'm gonna keep the envelope, but maybe I'm just gonna go and bring a filter. Why not? I'm gonna go there and just put it right there. And maybe do a little bit of filtering. If I place something, we get something very and super dull, right? So, okay, so how can we use the math to our advantage? So maybe I'm gonna go to data and I'm gonna bring some steps and I'm maybe just gonna put it right there. All right. So, okay, so what do we care about this? We know that this one will output a value. So I'm going to bring the math and I'm just going to bring the add. I'm just going to connect it right here. And just to see what's going on behind the scenes, I'm going to bring the value readout and just see what we get. So, of course, this is just going to follow whatever instruction we put right here. I'm just going to keep, maybe what we get from default. I'm just going to keep that. And we know that this is going from 0 to 1 and we get different values. Now, of course, maybe what I want to do, I want to get something else out of this. So I'm going to go to level and maybe going to bring a value right here. Now, remember that the value at the same time that the other one will output a value. And if I go there and just connect it right here, maybe right here, we can see that this one is going from 0 and then goes up and then goes up and then goes up all the way to -1, right? So, okay. So what happens if I go right here and just kind of multiply this, right? Or just add that 1 to whatever it is that we are doing right here. Notice that the instruction is just going to change because now we are not going from 0 to 1. It's going from 0 and then sometimes if I move this around, it's going to go to +1 and up. And if we bring a display right here, the oscilloscope, we can even see what is going on right there. So I'm going to go just connect it right here. And we can see the instruction. If I go to slow, this is what what this step is doing. Now, when I start shifting this value, of course, this is going to start to shift in a different way, right? Notice that we are going all the way to 1. Now, what happens if I notice if I move it on a more LFO fashion, notice that we get a different steps. It just looks a little bit different. And this could be useful because this gives you a little bit of more that, unpredictable kind of a behavior. It's just not that predictable anymore. So maybe we can just bring an LFO, right? Why not? Maybe go to LFO or maybe random. Maybe we can go to a random, just bring this right here. And I don't know, just do something like that and maybe something like that. Just do, something simple. I'm just going to go to -1 and +1, just because we can. And I'm just going to move the control around and we're going to start to get something more kind of unpredictable out of the gate just by doing the plus, right? Just crazy, just crazy. And all of this just helps to get your patch, just to get more something not so predictable, from out of this. So maybe, how can we use it? Well, again, at the end of the day, all of this, it will output value so we can use it on something else. So maybe I can bring from input and output, I can go and bring the modulator out. I'm just going to connect it there. And maybe I'm going to put this one right here. Okay, so we can use this modulator to do something. Maybe right now this patch sounds super simple. I want to bring a little bit more of something. So maybe I can do fault. And we are going to get something more unpredictable. Still, we are doing the steps, so we are going to get that vibe. But since this one is kind of shifting it on a different fashion, we are going to get sometimes something a little bit different. Again, this helps to make the patch not so predictable. Now, then, of course, we can enter into the discussion of what is predictable and what is not. If I make a track and I record the sound and then I listen to the track twice, it's not so predictable anymore, right? So, but that's the philosophical part of how this works, and we can enter into that discussion and never end that discussion. Okay, so notice how a simple module like the plus can help us to do something else. All right, so let's do another one. Why not? I'm going to maybe go right here, and I'm just going to bring a different oscillator, and this one is going to be a pulse. Now, I want to combine both oscillators and then go out to the filter and then go out right here. So it means that we need a mixer. I'm going to maybe bring a mixer. This is going to be my number 1. This is going to be my number 2, or, vice versa. And then I'm just going to connect this one right here. If I press something, notice that we are getting, the pulse sound. So, okay, so maybe we can bring the velocity and just, I'm going to go right there at the top and just bring the velocity. Okay, let me just bring this down so we can, get a glimpse of everything pretty much. So, okay, so we know that the velocity will output the value as well. And if I bring that value readout, we can see what's going on right here. I'm just going to connect it right there. So this one will recognize what we are doing with the pitch. If I press very softly, it's going to be a lower value. But if I maybe go down on volume, let me just go down at volume. There we go. And if I press very softly, of course, it's going to be very low value. And if I press harder, it's just going to be all the way up to almost 1. So again, remember, we can use the everything to our advantage. So maybe I want to use this and just get different values out of this. So maybe I'm going to go to math and just get a constant. And the constant is just going to be 1. Now, what I want to do, maybe I want to get a little bit more out of this value. Because if you think about this, going from 0, and then 1, it's not a big value, right? So, okay, so maybe I can bring the multiply right here. Just going to go there, and I'm just going to multiply whatever the velocity is doing by whatever the constant value we have right here. So now we are just multiplying the 1 by whatever this is doing. And now we're going to get, of course, a greater value. But again, at the end of the day, if you think about this module, the velocity will output 0, something. So we are multiplying 0, something to 1. And that's just not going to give you, a lot of a difference. You're just making a tiny change. So what we can do, we can bring, you have other kind of modules to work with. Because at the end of the day, you are working with right here from 0 to 1, but you can use, for example, a level scaler. And this one will just change how this module will behave. So right now, let me just put something like that and do something like that. And if I go right here, notice that if I go really slow, I play a key and it's really kind of a, not that hard, we get lower values. But if I play hard, notice that we get a very different the instruction than when we get before, right? We get +3. So the level scaler is going to do that. It's going to scale whatever value you have right here. You need to kind of select the sweet spot right there. And if we, in this case, if I press softer, it's going to keep that soft value. But if I press hard, it's going to go all the way up. And in this case, what we can do, we can use the multiply for this. And instead of going out of the velocity, we just can just multiply this. Because when we play very softly, it's just not going to be a greater value. But now if I press hard, it's just going to be a much, higher value. Now, of course, we are doing 1, which is pretty much the same. What happens if I do 2? Now we are getting something very soft, or you're getting a lot more. You're doing +11, which is kind of a lot. So we could use this again to our advantage. So maybe what I want to do with the pulse, I want to go to input and output, and I'm just giving you different examples. We could do a million things right here. I'm going to go out of this one, right? So when I press soft, it's going to be a value, and maybe I'm going to do 2 because it's just going to be way too aggressive, right? That's going to be fine. And we're going to go out of this one, and I'm going to be doing sync, something like that. Something like that, not that aggressive. So if I do soft, it's not, it will not give me that sync sound. But if I press hard, I'm going to get that sync sound. Soft, hard, soft, and then hard, right? So you can control what comes out of the velocity now a little bit more. So, okay, and again, all this is just one tiny example of what you can do. You can use this in just very different ways. Let's say that maybe I want an LFO, right? I just maybe want to bring an LFO. I'm going to go right there and just bring an LFO. Okay, so I'm going to go there and I'm going to bring a display so we can see what we are doing. And this is going to be my LFO. All right, so let me open this, just make it bigger. Okay, so this is going to be my LFO, right? So when I'm going to do a triangle, I'm going to keep pretty much everything on pretty much the same. And I'm going to bring maybe the subtract. Why not? I'm going to go there. Now, of course, we are not doing, we're just doing nothing right now, right? We are doing pretty much the same. If I remove this module, we are going to get the same instruction. Now, at the end of the day, since this is outputting a value, maybe we can bring a different thing that will output a different value. And then when we start offsetting the different values, this is going to do it's going to start changing things. So maybe I can bring a different LFO, right? Just going to go and maybe bring a different LFO. And whatever I do right here is just going to subtract whatever we are doing. And notice that we are just starting to get a different instruction. Now, what happens if I start to offset all of this? And of course, right now we are retriggering. So this is just going to be canceling each other because we are doing retrigger. If I don't do retrigger, it's just going to be a little bit different. There we go. Notice that we get a different, and we already talked about how the retrigger works. In this case, if we do retrigger, this one is outputting a value and this one is outputting the same value. So we are canceling each other. Right? They are canceling. But in this case, I don't want to do this. I want to do a different instruction. I'm going to go right there. And notice that we start to get different things. And this is the whole point. Just to get that, something else out of this. So again, the magic starts to happen when you start to offset the values because they work now with different values. Maybe this one I'm just going to make it a little bit faster. And notice how much is going, how different the instruction is. And we can go even further. And again, I'm just I have an idea of what I want to do. But sometimes I'm just kind of flipping a coin of what I'm doing. I'm just kind of experimenting right here with you. So let me just make this bigger and just kind of, leave this right there. So we can even go through an AR, right? And then go to the -1 to do the subtract. So the AR, at the end of the day, remember this one will just kind of filter whatever is that we are doing right here. So if I go all the way down, all the way up on the LFO, maybe I'm going to get something faster. And this one, it's doing the filtering for me. And notice that we are listening to the pre-chord. So if we take a look, we are getting this same triangle of the LFO1. We are not doing anything. But as soon as I press something, this instruction will just pass through the AR. The gate is going to open, and we're going to do that subtract. So every time I play a key, we're going to get that different sound. And notice how we get it right here. And we can see it on the oscilloscope. Right, so that's kind of a nice trick. So maybe I'm going to go and put it right there. So right now we can control it only when we play a key. So if I press and hold, we're gonna get this. Well, that's fine, right? If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But maybe I just want to not control it with the keyboard, and I'm going to disconnect it. So now if I play a key, we are just not going to get much, but we are doing some retriggering right here. So I'm going to go and just disable this, and now we are not retriggering anymore. So I want maybe the gates to do the retriggering of this one. So notice that now the gate is going to kind of do this modulation for me, right? So maybe I'm going to do something like that. And we can even do a trigger or pulse. I believe trigger, a gate, it's fine. And we're going to get this instruction. And again, remember that we can still offset it. Maybe we can do a retrigger if we wanted to, right there. If I press a key, notice that the instruction is going to be a little bit different. Right, in this case, I'm not going to retrigger. And at the end of the day, what we care about this is that we can use this as a modulation instruction, right? So maybe I'm going to go to I/O and just bring something else right here and bring a modulator, just kind of connect it right there. And then we're going to be modulating something. What can we modulate? Maybe the filter. And notice that we get some movement on the filter right now. So it's just going to sound maybe not that dull. Maybe it's a little bit too loud, so let me just bring the volume down. I'm gonna go down on this one. It's a very simple patch, but the whole idea is just to see how they work and how we can manipulate the values to get something else in return. That's the whole idea. Now, of course, this sounds not that good. Maybe we could just do a little bit more work, but I believe that you understood how they work and how we can use them. We just can maybe just kind of put lipstick on a pick and just get something a little bit better. Maybe control the volumes a little bit better right here on the mixer. Now we could use all the things that we've learned. We can bring pitches or data and everything that we've been learning on this series just to enhance the sound a little bit more. Because this is a very simple patch. What happens if I bring the retrigger? Maybe just to this one. Just going to change the instruction a little bit. There you go. Now if I press harder, the sync is kicking in. And if I press softer, it's just not doing the sync anymore. Alright, so hopefully all of this was useful to you to understand how this works and to understand that everything will output some kind of a value, whether it's from 0 to 1 or -1 to 1, or maybe dBs or maybe semitones and hertz, and then you can use the math modules to mess with these values and to do something else or just to get something else in return. Now, of course, we are just learning. Now it's learning how they work and maybe doing a little bit of experimentation. It's completely up to you. The whole point of this series of videos and guides is just to kind of get you started. We are not building complex patches. It's just to get you started. Now, what you need to do is just to start experimenting. Maybe you will need to go through different patches, go to the polygrid and see all the things that you have, all the patches that you have. And a lot of these modules will just use this math modules. A lot of these patches will use these math modules on very different ways. So you're just going to need to dig in, see what they are doing on the patch, and just learn from the presets that you already get on Bitwig. Right? That's the way you really learn how to do stuff. Right. So these videos are just to get you started, to get you into the groove. The rest is going to be up to you. All right. Okay, so remember, if you like this series of videos, remember to like and subscribe. And if you have the money and you want to support the channel, you can go to Patreon and buy me a coffee. That would be really nice. You can also leave a comment. I loved reading comments. And this is, of course, the way I know that you like this kind of videos. Because if no one's watching, why doing them, right? So, okay, so hope you liked this one and was useful for you. See you on the next one. And on the next one, we need to talk about merge, split, select, and toggle.